What's up? This video we're going to be talking a little bit about fixed point, and let me just fix this camera. Hello. In this video we're going to be talking a little bit about fixed point. So can't really talk too much about fixed point without bringing up continuous motion as well, because I think continuous motion and fixed point do go hand in hand with each other. So if you don't know what fixed point is, it just means there is any point on your body, could be your arms, your legs, your torso, it could be a point on the ground. So you could have just any point here. Think of like a box shape. So you have the four corners of a box. So these are your four corners, right? And they do use these four corners with a lot of contemporary dances and salsa, bachata, those kind of dances as well. Like you have your cross step, like so, cross step, back, side to side. Okay, so this, obviously I'm not doing fixed point right here, but I'm showing you where the points are, because you can fix a point on the ground and fix. What does fix mean? It means to basically isolate a point, or to fix that in place. So that one point doesn't move, it doesn't change, it just stays there. So this point on the ground where my leg is could be that one fixed point. So now to know that, there's two ways you can do a fixed point. You can obviously fix a point and isolate your body around that one point, like I'm doing, like so. So what I'm doing is that point is fixed and I'm moving my body around. The other way to do it would be to basically fix your body and then move the space around. So it's a bit confusing, but there's two, like I was gonna say, I'll show you with my hips instead, because this is a better example. Fixed point would be I'm fixing my whole body and I'm only moving that one point. So you notice the rest of my body is fixed in place and I'm only isolating that one point. Now you can just fix that one point and move your body around instead. So instead you could do it like this. So now my body is moving around that one point instead of my body being fixed. There is other ways I could show you that. Your arm can do this, right? So the fixed point would be my shoulder right here. My shoulder is not moving, but my body is moving around that point, right? And now you can also do this. This hand, so the tip of my hand here is going to be the fixed point now. So, see? So you see the difference already? Instead of doing that, the fixed point becomes this. So I'm moving my body around instead of just isolating the arm. So the difference here is my body is completely still. The only part that's moving is this arm. The arm is being isolated, and now the only part that's going to move is my body. So that's the difference, right? So you can isolate the point, or you can isolate your body. It's very confusing, it doesn't make much sense, but you'll understand a lot more when you start to dance. Same thing here, right? You can do this with your arm. Okay. Or you can you can like lower your body underneath that point. Alright, so your arm can go, obviously your arm can go like that, or you can so that's just the two basic ways of fixing a point. Where it gets way more complicated is the amount of points you have changes all the time, okay? So you don't have to have one point, you can literally fix as many points as you want, and you can have two different points on your body doing completely different things. So if you have, well, a better way to explain it is lines, okay? So now you've got to understand fixed lines to understand fixed point. How many lines you have determines how many points can be fixed. A straight arm, it's one line, 1 point. A bent arm, okay, you have a bent arm, now you have 2 points because your arm is one line, 2 lines, so that's 2 lines. These allow for different points. So you can have this motion here, or you can have this motion here. So already you have 2 points where that can be fixed just by bending one limb. So 3, okay? Or you could say add an extra limb, now you have 3 points. Or you can bend the other limb, now you have 4 points. See? So the amount of points you have changes all the time depending on how many limbs you're using. Okay? So it still gets more complicated than that because you can have all these points moving at the same time. You can have them moving at the same time. You can have them moving in different directions at the same time. Or you can move them all different time, different positions, different angles, all at different times, and that's where you get like polyrhythms, and it gets really confusing. It takes a lot of coordination to be able to move all these different points at once. So these are fixed points. You notice like the wrist here is acting as a fixed point. Now your elbow acts as a fixed point. So what's happening here is I'm not doing your typical fixed point like this, where the point, this would be like mime, where you can mime see, that's how you would fix a point with mime, and basically that's where fixed point originates from, is mime. However, the point of fixed point is way more complicated and complex than that. Like I was saying, is when you're doing all these, you basically, all these fixed points are changing within seconds. So all these points here, they're always changing, right? So it doesn't stay the 1 point. So that brings me to the next thing, is changing points, okay? So all these points are changing constantly because each time I move, the point changes with every movement, okay? So wherever your body positioning is will determine where that fixed point is. If my arm's in front of me, the fixed point's only really going to be like this. there's not much you can really do from here, right? Because of that fixed point is not changing. So in order to change the point, you have to move it around. But you don't have to move it around. You could do connecting. Connecting is a way to connect a point, just to move that point around. So if I go like this, now the point has been connected to this arm. Now this arm becomes the fixed point, right? And then same thing, right? You can connect, and now you can move the points around by connecting. You can do this with waving as well, and threading. Waving and threading as well. You would wave to a certain point, boom, that point changes. Now the point is at the hips. To isolate, you can wave to your chest. Point has now been moved to the chest. Now the chest becomes the fixed point, and then you can use that fixed point like so. So the chest and the hips, a very simple fixed point to understand, because you can roll the chest. As you're rolling, you can roll in a circle. You can roll the other way, the opposite direction. So clockwise and anti-clockwise. You can also use that to turn. So as you roll, it can set you up into other waves. And you can add more movement, like cobra. Okay, so you can really use that chest a lot. Okay, and I did make another video about this where I talked a little bit more about how to use that chest with like waving and rolling. So apart from the chest can go side to side. You can also go up and down. The chest can also come back too though. It can be upright or it can be back. So see, you notice this, like forwards, back, and why that matters is because if you are to do like a really big wave like this, where you're rolling, and now your chest is back, this matters because you can send the waves up, or you can do this, right? So understanding how your chest can come forwards and back like this acts as a fixed point as well. So understanding your body can go forwards, back, your body can go side to side as well, like this, more like a leaning motion. You understand if you go like this, so you use the legs, right, a lot. This would be a fixed point of the legs, where your hips are not changing. Okay, so you do have all these points with your legs as well you can fix. Okay. Boom, boom. So knowing how to fix the legs and then fix the body too, right? Because these will help you with a lot of different styles like boogaloo. It'll help you with boogaloo. It'll help you with waves as well. So legs, hips, chest, shoulders can also be isolated or fixed. Like so. You can also do like fixed point where you can roll your shoulders around. Like that. Or also what I'll show you is like negative space, I call it, because this is another way to do weights. But first I'll show you just one more way you can fix the shoulders. Twisto flex. So your twisto flex is a way of isolating and fixing the shoulders, your head. So your shoulders can go like this, and then between all of those you can fix all these different body parts, like the legs can move separately. Your head, obviously, your head has a lot of different ways you can fix it, side to side. You can do head rolls, you can do neck flex, even with waving, you can use that, the shoulder kind of to help with the waves. And that's another thing, the shoulders can send the direction of a wave and determine where it goes. So if you were to turn like this, now you just continue with your hips, because your hips are now set up to finish that rotation. Okay? So there's a lot to talk about. Continuous motion now would be wherever that fixed point ends determines what you're going to do with it next. So like I use waving as an example because it's a good way to show you continuous motion. You can kind of draw out the motion with your hands like we're tracing. So if you were to wave to your chest becomes that fixed point now. If you were to wave to your knee will now become that fixed point where you can obviously play around with it and do whatever you want with, right? You can wave to your knee like this, and now you can use that continuous motion to play around with that point. Alright? So this point is your knee, that's what is going to be the new fixed point, alright? And you can switch points, obviously, just by connecting waves with tracing. And like I was saying, threading, because if you were to like wave to your knee, this time I'm going to wave to the other knee, right? To this knee. And now just connect it, thread, connect. Okay, thread, connect, and then wave with the other knee from there. So if you were in like a wider stance, same thing. Thread, connect. You can move these knees like so. Boom, boom, And the difference is just like that. So that's with waving. You can apply them to tutting. Tutting has the most amount of points because you have the most lines. Like I said, each time you bend a limb, you get more lines. So with tutting, you have your legs, you can do all these different lines, right? And the benefit here is you can really keep changing all these fixed points around, and then it'll give you more angles you can do. And you see how many different points you can actually get. Like, so like this. And also, perspective is a good way to change your points as well. So what I'm doing is perspective. Rather than facing front on with all these angles, like you need angles like this that are in the front tend to look a little bit better when you change the perspective to the side, like so. Okay. So perspective, add more lines or subtract more lines. I did talk a little bit more about this in the tutting tutorial, so I would recommend watching the tutting tutorials, and I talk a little bit more about lines and fixed point and all that in my tutorials. Back to negative space though, because I was going to show you with the shoulders. Negative space could be any space around you. It could be here, 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 here. Could be here. Could be here. Could be here. So what I'm doing there is I'm just fixing a point of negative space, okay? So it doesn't matter where it is, anywhere around you. It could be a box like this. If you wanted a box, you could do like, you could even do like a visualization of that box with your arms. So you're just visualizing where that space is. So this space here is obviously, I'm just visualizing a box right here, like that, okay? Okay, so that's how you could use your negative space, is just by visualizing what the shape of the space is. This is all two-dimensional, so that brings me to another thing. Three-dimensional fixed point is a lot different than one or two-dimensional, and three-dimensional are very different, sorry. 3-dimensional would be not this. So this would be like very 2-dimensional because it's all on the one plane. So what is 2D? 2D is just like basically all these angles like this. They're all like 2D because it's all just that one line, right? So it's all like one single line. You could pretty much draw it on a piece of paper because it's all like one dimension. You could draw it on a piece of paper. 3-dimensional is just adding forwards and backwards and turning your body with it a little bit more, or adding multiple different points at a time. Okay, and with fixed point, you really could like do this. Boom. Okay, so making it more 3-dimensional, these are called 3D tuts. However, 3D tut is just pretty much a principle built off of 3-dimensional fixed point and space and all that, okay? So it is pretty much, you think of a compass. The compass is north, south, and then you got like east and west and all that, right? So up, down, side to side, up, down, side to side. And you can use that principle with your shoulders, like your chest can go and now forwards and backwards, you're just adding that. You can add that extra dimension with your shoulders by going like forwards and backwards. Okay, so forwards and backwards. So, like I said, it could be like up, down, forwards and back, and then you want to add the extra dimensions and stuff in. And you can play around with it. There's so much you can do from here. But like I was going to show you with the shoulders, if you like wave up to your shoulder, you could use that to like send and connect to this point here. Now this point becomes fixed, and it allows you to just move that point around a little bit. So you wave up to your shoulder, boom, change the point by connecting. Now this point is fixed, right? So it doesn't matter where you want to, what you want to do with that point. If this is a fixed point here, you can move the point to here, and you can keep moving that point around, right? You could literally do what you want with that point. That point becomes fixed, like so. So to understand, this is the basic range of motion for your elbow. Down, up, and in and out like this. Boom. Boom, 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 boom. then also another range of motion, out and in, up and down. Okay, so I'm not talking too much, but understanding the range of motion with your elbow does matter, because even if you're in this position here, you can use that a lot. Okay, you can definitely use that motion to connect waves, for example, right? Boom, boom. Okay, and from here too. Like this. And if you're on the ground, it works a little better if you are on the ground like this, because then you can use that range of motion a lot more, which I do use this motion quite a lot in my dance. Like so. So it does get more confusing when you add more points, because this is where you have to have good coordination and all that, just to kind of play around with all the different points. See, like already, I should have practiced first before doing this. So these are like your prayer points. These are your points from praying position, down, here. But you don't have to do this, right? You can literally have your hands, instead of going right together like this, you can have them forwards and backwards like that. So this position, you can go boom, 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 up and down, like a climbing motion. Same motion, forwards and backwards, like this. It also allows you to turn your body, get into these positions. But also from here, you will find you can do these a lot easier as well. So if you're in this climbing position here, it's like just flipping your hands over like this makes a big difference. Like boom, boom, like that. And similar thing with the climbing motion, but this time my hands are going to be both facing down, like this. Or you can go it's almost like you're pulling the rope, because this is like fixed point. This is more of like mime style, where you're miming something that's here, like a bench. You might be a bench top, right? You might be like leaning on the bench top. You might be like scanning an item, like pick up an item, have a look, scan it, boop. You might have a box that's here, and you're like moving a box. And then this box here, you can play around with the box a lot. Like this box has a lot of different dimensions. The box can be like this, like this. You can have a box. You think of a square box, right? What does this box do? How does the box behave? How can you move this box around? Is it a heavy box? Because it might be too heavy to lift, and you might have to hold this box like this. Hold the box from underneath just so you can carry it. Maybe the box is so heavy you have to lift the box up. Now it's like you're holding this box above your head. Maybe you're in a room and like the roof's too small. Or maybe it's even smaller like this. It's like, I can't get out this room. So like now you're using mime and you're trying to imagine showing the audience what you're thinking. Have a concept. What are you trying to show? Like what illusion are you trying to convey with this negative space and with the mime, with the fixed point and all that, okay? So we talked about lines, negative space. There is other ways you can do negative space. I made a video about this called paths or something. But you imagine there is a path here, a negative space path, okay? So this is just going to be an imaginary line. It doesn't have to be straight, it could be like a wavy path, right? So that path could be wavy, it could be a straight line. In this case, straight line path would just be like straight across. Okay, like you're waving. If you want the path to be wavy, you don't have to wave with the path, you can go or you could imagine you are like tutting, right? So this is still kind of a wave, but you could go, you kind of like show that it's a little bit wavy, just with like tuts. The elbow, like it can come up and down. You could be like, even rolling the wrist, right? So these, anyway, that's a path. Path that can be way more complicated. Like I said, it can be three-dimensional. Your path can be forwards and back, forwards and to the side. You could just draw that path with your body, forwards, side. Your body can also do that kind of path. So your body can also follow the path, your shoulders can also follow the path. Maybe you want to lean forwards and show that S-shaped line like this by leaning forwards, changing perspective a little bit more. Maybe you want the perspective to be like this. Boom. Okay, so however you draw that line with your body, that path is up to you. It can be any way you want. Path can be, like I said, straight line. It could be down and across. It could be down and across. And a way to show you that line is with waves. So you can constantly keep changing this path wherever you want that to go. So now, say I just turn my wrist backwards, like that. So that path can literally be like straight, or the path could be down like this, like, and you can change the paths all the time as much as you want. So the path can just be coming down, and now you want the path to come across. Now you want the path to come up. So now I'm just changing the paths, changing the direction of the paths. So now from here, you don't have to come across like with the path. You can turn your body around. So you're doing some perspective thing like this, right? So now the path is here. This will be the fixed point now, because that's the last point where the move ended. The last point where your move ends is that fixed continuous point. So now you can move your body around. The path can be going down the legs, like this. You can keep changing that path all you want. So these paths, you got to know where you want to draw it. Like, you want the path to be a line of your body, right? So now the path is that line of your body, the legs. You want more lines, you want a more complicated path, add more lines, join another limb. Like so. And now you can come up. You can have these paths as complicated as you want. But the point is, these are going to be your paths, right? And from every single point is a continuous motion, is a fixed point. So the easiest way to think about a point, a fixed point, is the natural joints of your body. Your wrists, naturally a fixed point. Shoulders, elbows are naturally fixed point. Elbows, because they do have just a natural motion. Shoulders, obviously natural fixed point. And the thing with the shoulders is it requires a little bit more flexibility to pull off these fixed points. Because if you want a full range of motion, you've got to go right behind your back. This is where the shoulders fixed point is a little more difficult, because you have to be able to have your shoulder come all the way to the front like this. If you can't do this motion where your shoulder is like right in front, it requires a lot of flexibility. You're going to lose a lot of range of motion. I can't do that, so I lose a lot of range of motion. I can't really go all the way back either, like this. But you do lose a lot of range of motion if you don't have those angles available. So work on your flexibility so you can do them. Is this recording? Okay, it's still recording. Just checking. Okay, another range of motion that's also quite difficult is above your head like this. So these range of motion here, very basic with your tuts and all that. These are your most basic tutting angles, right? Like this. But you also have in and out, up and down. You have these angles too. And this is where I'm talking about that range of motion. This gets a bit difficult to have that angle right above your head like this. So everyone can do this angle, but can you get your shoulder to come all the way up, right? So it forms this straight line like this, because that will help you a lot with your tutting, and it'll give you way more range of motion like this. You could do a full turn, and the reason why that's important is because from the side perspective, you need that line here for your tucks. You see, from the side it looks way better when you can do that. And then also you want this full range of motion for your tucks, okay? So tutting, waving, probably the main styles that use fixed point. The other styles are boogaloo, like I said, with your chest, your legs. You even have your puppet style. Like puppet uses fixed point a lot. Rotors, these are called rotors, where you are rotating like so. Rotor is also these motions here too though, where it's all these rotating motions of your arms. Okay? Because from here you do have these rotors available from all different angles, like and this is where, if you know electro dance, you can use those rotors a lot, because in electro they do have these I can't remember what they call it. I think they do call them rotors in electro dance anyway, but it's important to learn all the different styles so you can fuse the styles and just connect everything. So I think we talked mostly about fixed point. Not sure if there's anything else I'm missing. Maybe a little bit more about ground point as well. With your fixed ground points, very similar, where all these different points that can be fixed. Okay, whoops, lost my balance. Have a good balance when you do this. Take it slow. Okay. Okay, and also, like I said, the salsa kind of thing, know your squares. Wide stance, close stance, and then your two forwards and back angles like this, right? Because this is where you're going to be able to go. Fixed point as well. So instead of going like this, side to side, and all the way around like that, try stepping over a lot, because you can step with that too, right? And then you can get into your boxes, your box step and all that. It's good if you learn juking and some, I think it is, yeah, juking. They do a lot of heel toe motion. So the good thing is, in juking style, it does teach you a little bit how you can use the feet in a more dynamic way. Obviously I don't do that, but I know heel toe motion is like another way you can add that fixed point. So imagine you got in like a Fresno kind of motion here. So you can fix that point on ground like this with that heel toe motion. Heel toe. Heel toe can also be like this, or like this. Okay, so play around with a lot of footwork as well, a lot of the leg lines. Mainly these leg lines here, and especially in ground positions too, like all the ground angles I taught you about. And then knowing you don't have to always have a bent leg here, you can have straight leg out and then do like a straight leg turn instead, which is, it's useful for like your walkouts, because a walkout is basically a fixed point. Leg, leg, turn, leg, leg, turn, like that, okay? And you can also get into all that as well. Just by swinging the leg, you get these fixed points. And finding different ways to get in and out of it will make a huge difference as well. Can do it on the ground. The ground, obviously you have your tutting positions on the ground. You have your, what do I call it, like your squares. You have your leg up, all your different ground angles. Ground angles, I think, have to be for a different video, but you can do the fixed point with your legs, like this. It could also be changing perspective, like that. So these are different fixed points as well. And just knowing how to change the perspective of all these different fixed points, because if you are in a position like that on the ground, you can do a lot of your tutting angles as well with all these lines. Okay, so these are like not just leg lines, but they're also arm lines as well. You can do diagonal angles, diagonal lines. I might have to make another video for diagonal lines, but there is a lot more you can do with diagonal lines. For example, diagonal lines like this. You can use a lot of the diagonal lines like this. Even like this. Connect them. Anyway, the bird's at the door, so I'm going to wrap the video up here, but I might make a part 2 video about this and just teach you a little bit more about that. But diagonal lines, ground lines, I might have to make separate videos for all of those. And I'm sure there's a ton of information I'm still forgetting. I still got to make a robot video, but this was a request from a viewer, so I'm going to have to make this video in parts because there's just too much information to cover in one video. But I hope that's a good lesson for you anyway. Peace out, hope that helped.